William Blake, an introduction. William Blake was born on 28th of November 1757 in London to parents of modest income that could only afford a basic education of reading and writing, although he did attend a drawing school for a short time. His artistic skill was apparent relatively early, and at the age of 14 he stopped working in his father's hosiery shop and became an apprentice engraver. This apprenticeship finished when he was 21, and at 25 he married Catherine Boucher. He taught her to read and write, and together in 1789 they published Songs of Innocence, with text and engravings printed from copper plates, and illustrations finished by hand with watercolours. It did not sell well, and throughout his life he remained largely unrecognised, often on the verge of poverty. This led to a deep depression for many years, and he was often considered mad by his contemporaries. His creativity and imagination, with its undercurrents of mysticism, spiritualism, and philosophy, are apparent in this selection of poems, and whilst classed as a seminal figure in the Romantic Age, it wasn't until the late 19th century that his work was recognised. The 20th century saw an even greater appreciation of his poetry, with Blake's voyage beyond the rational and material chiming with the beat poets Dylan, Van Morrison and Jim Morrison, whose band The Doors were named after Blake's phrase "doors of perception" from his poem Marriage of Heaven and Hell. Further acclaim has been attributed to him from many scholars of art, psychology and, of course, literature. His poems have inspired composers such as Vaughan Williams, Britten and Taverner, and his Jerusalem is a hymn still sung today. Blake's vivid and intense work is still relevant to all to this day, and he is recognised as a saint in the Ecclesia Agnostica Catholica. William Blake died on 12th of August 1827, and in 1957 a memorial was erected at Poets' Corner in Westminster Abbey.
The Marriage of Heaven and Hell. The Argument. Rintrah roars and shakes his fires in the burdened air. Hungry clouds swag on the deep. Once meek and in a perilous path, the just man kept his course along the vale of death. Roses are planted where thorns grow, and on the barren heath sing the honeybees. Then the perilous path was planted, and a river and a spring on every cliff and tomb, and on the bleached bones red clay brought forth. Till the villain left the paths of ease, to walk in perilous paths, and drive the just man into barren climes. Now the sneaking serpent walks in mild humility, and the just man rages in the wilds where lions roam. Rintrah roars and shakes his fires in the burdened air. Hungry clouds swag on the deep. Plate 3. As a new heaven is begun, and it is now 33 years since its advent, the eternal hell revives, and lo, Swedenborg is the angel sitting at the tomb. His writings are the linen clothes folded up. Now is the dominion of Edom, and the return of Adam into paradise. Without contraries is no progression. Attraction and repulsion, reason and energy, love and hate are necessary to human existence. From these contraries spring what the religious call good and evil. Good is the passive that obeys reason. Evil is the active springing from energy. Good is heaven, evil is hell. Plate 4. The Voice of the Devil. All Bibles, or sacred codes, have been the causes of the following errors. That man has two real existing principles, viz. A body and a soul. That energy, called evil, is alone from the body, and that reason, called good, is alone from the soul. That God will torment man in eternity for following his energies. But the following contraries to these are true. Man has no body distinct from his soul, for that called body is a portion of soul discerned by the five senses, the chief inlets of soul in this age. Energy is the only life, and is from the body, and reason is the bound or outward circumference of energy. Energy is eternal delight. Plate 5. Those who restrain desire do so because theirs is weak enough to be restrained, and the restrainer, or reason, usurps its place and governs the unwilling. And being restrained, it by degrees becomes passive, till it is only the shadow of desire. The history of this is written in Paradise Lost, and the governor, or reason, is called Messiah. And the original archangel, or possessor of the command of the heavenly host, is called the devil, or Satan, and his children are called sin and death. But in the book of Job, Milton's Messiah is called Satan. For this history has been adopted by both parties. It indeed appeared to reason as if desire was cast out, but the devil's account is that the Messiah fell and formed a heaven of what he stole from the abyss. This is shown in the Gospel, where he prays to the Father to send the Comforter, or desire, that reason may have ideas to build on, the Jehovah of the Bible being no other than he who dwells in flaming fire. Know that after Christ's death he became Jehovah, but in Milton the Father is destiny, the Son a ratio of the five senses, and the Holy Ghost vacuum. Note, the reason Milton wrote in fetters when he wrote of angels and God, and at liberty when of devils and hell, is because he was a true poet, and of the devil's party without knowing it. A memorable fancy. As I was walking among the fires of hell, delighted with the enjoyments of genius, which to angels look like torment and insanity, I collected some of their proverbs, thinking that as the sayings used in a nation mark its character, so the proverbs of hell show the nature of infernal wisdom better than any description of buildings or garments. When I came home, on the abyss of the five senses, where a flat-sided steep frowns over the present world, I saw a mighty devil folded in black clouds, hovering on the sides of the rock. With corroding fires he wrote the following sentence, now perceived by the minds of men and read by them on earth. How do you know but every bird that cuts the airy way is an immense world of delight closed by your senses five? Proverbs of hell. In seed time learn, in harvest teach, in winter enjoy. Drive your cart and your plough over the bones of the dead. The road of excess leads to the palace of wisdom. Prudence is a rich, ugly old maid courted by incapacity. He who desires but acts not breeds pestilence. The cutworm forgives the plough. Dip him in the river who loves water. A fool sees not the same tree that a wise man sees. He whose face gives no light shall never become a star. Eternity is in love with the productions of time. The busy bee has no time for sorrow. The hours of folly are measured by the clock, but of wisdom no clock can measure. All wholesome food is caught without a net or a trap. Bring out number, weight, and measure in a year of dearth. No bird soars too high if he soars with his own wings. A dead body revenges not injuries. The most sublime act is to set another before you. If the fool would persist in his folly, he would become wise. Folly is the cloak of knavery. Shame is pride's cloak. Plate 8. Prisons are built with stones of law, brothels with bricks of religion. The pride of the peacock is the glory of God. The lust of the goat is the bounty of God. The wrath of the lion is the wisdom of God. The nakedness of woman is the work of God. Excess of sorrow laughs, excess of joy weeps. The roaring of lions, the howling of wolves, the raging of the stormy sea, and the destructive sword are portions of eternity too great for the eye of man. The fox condemns the trap, not himself. Joys impregnate, sorrows bring forth. Let man wear the fell of the lion, woman the fleece of the sheep. The bird a nest, the spider a web, man friendship. The selfish smiling fool and the sullen frowning fool shall be both thought wise, that they may be a rod. What is now proved was once only imagined. The rat, the mouse, the fox, the rabbit watch the roots. The lion, the tiger, the horse, the elephant watch the fruits. The cistern contains, the fountain overflows. One thought fills immensity. Always be ready to speak your mind, and a base man will avoid you. Everything possible to be believed is an image of truth. The eagle never lost so much time as when he submitted to learn of the crow.